Hello and welcome to Bloke on the Range, and I've got a bit of a mishmash of firearms out here on the table today because I want to talk about the practical difference in operating closed bolt guns, which most people watching this will be familiar with, and open bolt guns. And just as a quick reminder for those who are not au fait with all this, in the cocked state, the bolt is forward on a closed bolt gun, and then when you fire it, it comes to the rear. On an open bolt gun, that is the cock position, and when you pull the trigger, it springs forward, and then a fixed or otherwise operated firing pin fires the cartridge, and then the firing cycle goes from there. It's the same on the Sterling. It's cocked, bang. So, to a certain degree, open bolt is backwards to your thinking about closed bolt, and this often leads to people getting into trouble, safety issues. I mean, I'm sure you've heard all the things about Stens and Sterlings being dropped, bashed on things and going off. And part of that is due to sheer deficiency in the training materials. And I've gone through various versions of the Sten and Thompson and Sterling training pamphlets from the British Army, and fundamentally, if you follow what they're saying for operation, you will never have a problem. The problem is that they never actually explain fundamentally how they work. And the problem is then, you've got some very competing ideas about what you want to do with it. And people then do things they shouldn't do. Now, what I think the best thing to do is to quickly go through the firing cycle of both types, and then we'll get into why things are backwards and why people come unstuck with them. So let's do the one everyone's familiar with first. So, bolts forward, magazine in. That is loaded but not made ready. In a Finnish SRR competition, that is magazine placed, not loaded. Different terminology, same result. You can flick the safety off, pull the trigger, nothing will happen. There is no round in the chamber. To make the rifle ready, we have to cock it. You see the dummy cartridges there. It will chamber. And now, if we press the trigger, that will fire. Bang. The cycle repeats. Automatically, it gets automatically cocked, ejects the old empty case, and then we're chambered, we're ready to go, bang again. So if the action is hooked back on this, nothing happens with the trigger, and to get it back into a state for firing, we have to drop the bolt by either the cocking handle, the bolt release, or a good jolt. And now, pressing the trigger will make it go bang. Now, what you'll have noticed here is that nothing goes bang unless the trigger is pulled. This is a very, very important difference to what we'll describe next. So let's go through the Sten firing cycle as it is supposed to be done. So we lock it into the safety notch. You don't have to do that. That's safe, nothing's going to happen. That is now cocked. The only way to release the bolt from this position is to press the trigger, and that will cause it to go. Hits the front, it goes bang, chamber pressure drives it back, and then we're cocked again, ready for the next round. If you just do that, it is fine. The sear engagement is huge. It is not going to go off from this position unless you press the trigger or something is very, very, very worn inside. From this safety position, it is not going to go off. It's going to have to jump all the way out and jump over the sear, and not happening. The problem is that we don't want to carry the gun around like this because we can get all manner of crap in the opening. What we'd like to be able to do is carry it with the bolt forward. So let's just do that. Bolts forward. We would like to carry it like this. This is an early enough Sten, but we don't have the push through safety. So In this position with live ammunition, the firearm is fundamentally dangerous. It can go off without the trigger being pressed, because all that needs to happen is that this needs to catch on something, or it needs to push against something, be hit on the floor, hit against something, enough to bring the bolt back that far, bang. And that's where the open bolt related accidents come from. And why does it fire like that? It will fire like that because the firing pin is machined integrally with the face of the bolt. They're not all machined integrally like this. STENs are, Sterlings are. There's other ones where it's a two-part bolt. There's others where there's a firing pin and a separate sort of actuator like in a Thompson. But fundamentally, if the bolt closes, it goes bang, provided there's enough oomph to dent the primer, which it mostly is. So the early load and make ready drill in the early pamphlets for the STEN is starting from the sort of ease springs condition. You place the magazine, and the pamphlet says the gun must not remain in this condition for any length of time, for the reasons we just shown. So you have to then cock it and move it up into the safety notch. The problem is that you have had to transit a dangerous situation. So if we just drop it again, the gun is perfectly safe, no magazine in it. It can now go off if dropped or hooked on that. We have to pull this back. And if I let it go there, we're going to go bang. So it has to transit. It's only safe again once it's cocked there or turned up into the safety notch. This is not a good state of affairs. On the Mk.38, they started making little leather thongs that they'd wrap around the charging handle. On the Mk.40 and later STENs and uprated earlier STENs when they went through a refurb, they'd drill a hole through. This actually, interestingly, this has the cocking handle that you can do this with. This doesn't have a Mk.2 cocking handle. This has a much later one. And then you push that through and it will lock the bolt in the forward position so that you can have it in a state that is good for the soldier because he's got the breech block covering the opening so there's less chance of cat can get in, but it's not going to go off with knocked. He has to actively pull it out. He still has to transit that dangerous situation, but in principle he's pulling that out and that back. It's all under his control. It can still go bang during that process though. Now if we go over to the Sterling, which is a far more refined beast, we have a proper safety catch. This one has been blocked at semi so that I can shoot it whenever I want. So similar considerations apply, except that in this system, when it's on safe, that is locked. The safety catch will lock the bolt in the forward position or in the cocked position, and there's no safety notch, there's no need for one. So what we can do in principle is that we can keep it like this and it can't go anywhere, except it can, because this flag safety sits rather proud. And there's a note in the pamphlets that you weren't to leave a gun with a loaded magazine on it kicking around in a vehicle or anywhere, basically anywhere without supervision. When the stock's folded, there's a bit of protection here, but it doesn't take a lot of imagination to imagine this rattling around the back of a Bedford. Some bit of kit gets under there. Oh, we got the gun in a dangerous condition, and then suddenly, poof! If you don't believe me, that would have gone bang. Ha! It's in there, but it's stuck. I'll have to get a rod to get that out in a minute. Oh, there we go. So there's all sorts of anecdotes of people bashing Sterlings. Like there's one particular anecdote of someone bashing a Sterling on the back of an armoured personnel carrier with the stock folded. Boff, boff, boff. The safety had probably flicked off, and it went bang. I mean, they're perfectly safe if the safety's on, but it's just so easy to knock that off. Okay, so if you watched this far, you've probably got a decent handle on the differences, but there's another practical aspect. Let's talk about stoppages. And I'm going to do my best to simulate some stoppages, show the differences, and we'll just see what the consequences of doing it wrong can be in an open bolt. So, first up, let's just simulate a stoppage as best I can. Let's get it. ARs are just too reliable sometimes. Okay, let me just... There we go. Whoa! Let's try that again. Sometimes PMags are just too good. I've had to go and get something that should have a lot more friction. Here's an RG L85 A1 mag. I'll just try and get to where I was aiming for there. So what we want is... come on. There we go. Okay, so what we've got here is a stoppage where we haven't quite fed the round out of the magazine. What's happened is that the rim is kind of hooked up on the front of the lip. Now, when you get used to running conventional closed bolt rifles, you get used to diagnosing your stoppages and then knowing what you can do to fix it as quickly as possible. If you've been through British Army training or cadets or whatever, you'll be familiar with the words cock, hook and look and the looking down position of the cocking handle. What do you do if it appears forward, if it appears in the middle, if it appears to the rear? When you get into civilian shooting, you can be rather more flexible in your approach and decide on the fly what's going to work. Now, British Army here would be cock, hook and look, but civilian's going to think, ooh, I can take the mag off, ooh, and it's just made it worse. But sometimes you do that, or some sort of hybrid. There we go. Let's just pretend that worked properly. It goes forward and goes in, push the mag back in, and off you go. Now, the problem if you've got a similar situation in an open bolt gun, let's try it with the STEN mag and the Sterling. They do actually work. Okay, so we're hooked up. Imagine if we then, there we go. As soon as you start manipulating that, you might cause it to come free. That would have gone bang, doing what you might have done automatically as a reflex with an AR. So always, something not right, you want to get that gun back in that position there. But if you're ever in a position where you've got something blocked, something sitting in there, let's just say we have an empty, let's just say we somehow got an empty case stuck there. If you start fiddling with that and something gets caught, the bolt goes forward. Your immediate reaction, in fact what we could have on a Sterling is, let's say, oh, I need 3 hands. We could have a situation like that where we've got an empty case. Now what you might do in that situation with a conventional rifle, so let's just generate that stoppage. So what you're going to do in this situation, this is an empty case, the first thing you're going to do is that. However, on an open bolt gun, here we've got a similar situation. We've got a round almost chamber, we've got an empty case. We think, oh, I can just pull it out with my fingers. Or maybe. Bang. I've actually only ever seen one actual stoppage in this. My Stens, well, the Stens, they stop. The feed pathway on this is so clear. These are such well-designed mags. So whereas with a closed bolt rifle, you might have various things you might do other than cock, hook, and look, and see what you need to do then, and carry on. Your reaction, anytime an open bolt gun stops for any reason, obviously that's not going to do anything, but your initial reaction whenever something happens that shouldn't happen is always cock it, because that's putting the gun back in a safe condition. You can apply the safety catch if you want, or turn it up into a notch if there is one, but now nothing can go bang of its own accord. Fundamentally, what this comes down to is that open bolt guns can go bang for various reasons other than due to pressing the trigger, whereas a closed bolt gun, assuming that nothing's gone wrong in the trigger mechanism, can only go bang when you actually press the trigger. Now, obviously, one round going up behind the other, behind another one that's already in the chamber and hitting the primer is another thing, but that's a bit outside the scope of this. So anyway, there we go. So I think you can see how you can end up in dangerous situations simply through lack of knowledge, not a lack of training so much, because the training material simply didn't explain the fundamental things. If you follow the rules, it's going to be fine. I think I forgot to mention that the latest STEN cocking drill was you cocked it, you turned it up into the notch, then you put in the magazine, so you weren't transiting that dangerous position. Now, 3 years in a row, I have won a pistol caliber carbine classic match with a cutoff date of 1960 with this. It was a bit weird at first. I haven't got the opportunity to go out on a range at the moment to get some footage for this. I will see if I can do another video if I can get an opportunity to show the sort of fundamental differences in running it on the clock. But you sort of load and make ready and everything becomes a bit different. So for instance, if we take the AR, so you're going to take the rifle, take the flag out, you're going to be hooked back, and your load and make ready is simply, and that's it, and it's easy, nothing to it. So with the Sterling, because we're going to want to avoid transiting that dangerous stage, because a bang at the wrong time is a DQ, so what we're going to do is we're going to have the gun in the rack. It's probably on the safety flag, like that. So load and make ready, what we're going to do is we're going to cock it first, safety on. The safety can't be put on unless the bolt is fully forward or fully back. You insert the mag, and then that's it. And then are you ready, stand by, beep, and then you flick it off and fire it. And because of the increased lock time, because that has to jump all the way forward to go bang, it's a slightly different shooting technique, and you kind of just hang on to it, and you can't do a gentle trigger press on these, partly because sometimes the trigger mechs malfunction. They're designed to be, they're subguns, they're designed to be used slightly aggressively. This likes a firm press, so that's another way that it differs in use. And what's interesting is that even though the height over bore is relatively small, it's only about an inch, sometimes when you've got a teeny little A-zone at 8 or 10 meters, you've got to cover it with your front sight rather than use the tip. So it's not only with the big sight offsets with ARs that you need to worry about that sort of thing.
There now follows a brief public service announcement. If you're watching this video on YouTube, wouldn't it be great if there was somewhere on the internet regrouping the best gun nerd content in one place, free of demonetizations and insta-bans, and enabling you to watch it either on desktop or on most major platforms including Apple, Android, Roku and Amazon Fire? Well, now there is. Go to weaponsandwar.tv and sign up for $9.99 a month or $99 a year to enjoy and support the work of all these great channels in one convenient package with cross-channel collections, feature weeks and other cool features you won't find elsewhere, and better video quality. There may even be a discount code for the monthly subscription active right now. Check the main page of weaponsandwar.tv to find out. If that's not for you, the traditional options of Patreon and Player are of course still open, links in the description, and we're always grateful for a like, a subscribe and a salty comment to feed the algorithm. Many thanks for your support in whatever form it may be. Now, back at the plot.
So, anyway, I hope my blather was at least vaguely interesting. Please, if you like this kind of content, consider following us on the app, or liking and subscribing, or supporting us on Patreon, however you see fit. I hope this was at least vaguely interesting, and yeah, I'll hopefully be able to get to demonstrate. Yeah, I'll hopefully be able to demonstrate this on the range at some point live when I get the opportunity.